If you've ever found yourself at the end of the day wondering why you're so exhausted, beyond just the normal mom tired, this episode is for you. Today, I'm bringing back Allegra Gast, a registered dietitian and lactation consultant, to talk about the practical, real life ways that we can support our energy as moms. We're not talking about perfection here. We're talking frozen veggies, rotisserie chickens, and why you might actually need more salt in your life. So if you're craving energy, clarity, and a little permission to do things your way, stick around. I'm Chrissy Bold. I am a stay-at-home mom to two young boys, and this is Mom's Guide to Finding Herself. You know that moment in the day when you're standing in front of the fridge staring at a pack of string cheese and a half of a juice box and wondering, is this my lunch? I've been there. And honestly, it wasn't until I had a real conversation with someone who gets mom life that I realized so much of how I feel isn't just emotional, it's nutritional. That's why I'm so excited to welcome back today's guest, Allegra Gast. If you didn't catch part one of our conversation, definitely go back and give it a listen. She shared her own story of struggling with low energy, overwhelm, and mom guilt after her first baby, and how everything shifted when she started nourishing her body differently, especially when she became a twin mom. Allegra is a functional registered dietitian and an international board-certified lactation consultant who supports families through postpartum health and breastfeeding. She leads a team of 5 dietitians and consultants through her virtual practice, Aloha Nutrition. Originally started in Hawaii, she now runs it from Texas with her husband and 4 kids, including those twins, and shares incredibly helpful tips on Instagram at aloha.nutrition. Today's conversation is all about the how to build energy sustaining meals, how to hydrate in ways that actually support your body, and how to make nutrition work in real mom life. So if you're constantly exhausted and snapping at your kids or skipping meals because there's just no time, this episode is going to meet you right where you are. Allegra, thank you for coming back to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's good to be here again.
I loved hearing your insights last time about your experience having 2 babies, or 1 baby where you started and then another one and then 2 more. So you had 4 babies, all under the age of 5, 3 under 3, and you somehow felt better after you had those twins physically, that at least, than you did when you had your first.
Yes.
Amazing.
I know it's so crazy to think like, what? That doesn't make sense. Like, how could I feel better physically compared to physically with
Right.
4 kids versus 1?
And so what was the big change for you with that?
Yeah, the biggest thing is nutrition. I mean, your body is like a car. You have to put good gas in it. You got to put oil in it. You
Yeah.
got to make sure there's spark plugs to make that car run optimally. And same with
Yeah.
your body. And because pregnancy and breastfeeding and the overwhelm of motherhood is so demanding on the body, it
Yeah.
depletes you of these minerals. And minerals, I like to say, are your body's spark plugs.
Ooh.
Calories, carbohydrates, fat, protein, that is your gas and your oil. And so you have to fuel yourself in order for your body to run efficiently. And so many of us, especially new moms, we don't take care of ourselves. We don't
Yes.
eat breakfast or we don't eat enough protein. And protein is the most satiating macronutrient. It keeps your blood sugar steady. A lot of us are like eating our kids' leftovers.
Yeah.
We're eating their leftover mac and cheese or chicken nuggets. And I'm like, no, you
Yeah.
are a human, you are an adult. You need to eat a full meal. And especially if you're breastfeeding, like that requires extra energy from you.
Yeah.
And so with my first, I wasn't prioritizing breakfast, I wasn't prioritizing protein. I mean, if I did eat breakfast, it was cereal with almond milk, which is
Mm.
probably max like 3 to 5 grams of protein. And
Yeah.
really, we need 20 to 30 plus grams of protein.
Whoa.
And so now with my twins, I start the day with a really good breakfast. I try to get at least 20 to 30, typically 30, 35 grams of protein. So what that looks like is maybe 2 to 3 eggs. I like to buy a higher protein bread as well. So, kind
Okay.
of adding protein within carb options. So, we'll do like a higher protein waffle mix, like
Yeah.
Kodiak pancakes. If we do spaghetti for dinner, I like to buy the chickpea or the lentil
Mm.
pasta. Barilla, the brand Barilla, has a
Yeah.
protein pasta as well. So,
Yeah.
really just prioritizing protein and also, of course, fiber and healthy fat. So, like with breakfast, I would add like avocados here and
Okay.
there, trying to add like a side of fruits for some carbohydrates. I would add some collagen powder to my coffee. That's a really easy
Okay.
boost of
Yeah.
15 grams, depending on the brand that you buy, but
Yeah.
about 15 grams of protein. So, really, just prioritizing my nutrition has been so helpful in just fueling me. Also, electrolytes. So, every single day, it's actually what I'm drinking right now.
Yeah.
I drink a mineral mocktail. So, it's about electrolytes. So, you can either make your own,
Yeah.
which you can incorporate like a quality salt for that sodium chloride, and then
Mhm.
cream of tartar is a source of potassium. You could use coconut water if you wanted to, but cream of tartar is super easy.
Okay.
And then, of course, water. And then I also will do like some pre-mixed
Yeah.
versions, but I make a mineral mocktail every single day. That
Mm.
is a non-negotiable. I do try to have at least one every day. Sometimes I'll do two, like mid-morning, mid-afternoon. And even with my clients, my followers on Instagram, it's like they don't have that energy crash. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, minerals are that spark plug. It
Yep.
ignites that, spark in your cells and gives you that energy. And so that has been so important, especially with my twins waking up at night, with two babies waking
Yep.
up and, a toddler and a preschooler. Like
Right.
it was just crazy how impactful my nutrition was and just how I felt and how I managed things and my
Yeah.
stress resiliency. I
Yeah.
mean, I tell myself every day parenting is a sports event. You're not
Mm.
going to go to a big sports event not having eaten anything. Like you're
True.
going to eat, you're going to make sure you're taking your electrolytes.
Yeah.
So, I think also just the mental shift is like, okay, this is a marathon right now. I need to
Yeah.
make sure I'm fueling
Right.
myself. And that has allowed me to be more patient with my kids. I'm
Yeah.
not as agitated. I can handle
Yes.
more. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're still overwhelmed. I'm still like, this is a lot. But like I notice on the days I don't eat a good breakfast or I don't take my minerals, I am
Yeah.
more ragey, I'm more snappy, I'm more irritated. I feel tired. I need an afternoon nap. And so, yeah, it's really amazing how just the foundations are so crucial for that recovery and just managing life postpartum.
Okay, I have to jump in here because what Allegra just said about feeling more ragey and snappy on the days where you don't eat well or forget your minerals, that hit me so hard. And honestly, this is the kind of thing I talk about in my mom moment memo. Those little daily stories and reminders that help you feel seen in moments like this. I send it out a few times a week, and it's like a tiny little voice in your inbox saying, "Hey, you're still in there. You're not broken. You're doing your best." You can sign up for free at momidentityproject.com/memo. Okay, back to Allegra. Yes, I completely agree. And what you said with like the days where you eat a good breakfast, you can tell the difference in the way that your day goes. So I want to hear some of your favorite tips on getting protein in because the 2 to 3 eggs I can wrap my head around because it's breakfast time and that makes sense. But what about the rest of the day? Where are you getting
Mhm.
more protein in?
Yep. So, I mean, like I said, you could do the higher protein bread.
Yeah.
So, Dave's Killer Bread, if you want for lunch to make like a sandwich, you could use the higher protein bread, which usually a slice is about 5 grams of protein. So, now you're getting 10 grams right
Yep.
there.
Yep.
And then adding like a can of tuna, a can of salmon. I like to do canned salmon. It's lower in mercury. It's filled
Mm.
with omega-3 fatty acids. And don't be afraid of canned. Like, canned is a really easy, convenient way to get
Yep.
that fish, those omega-3 fatty
Yep.
acids, as well as that protein. So, just a can of salmon is like 23 grams of protein, just right there. And so,
Wow.
already you're at 30 grams. You could do some like carrot sticks with hummus on the
Okay,
side.
yeah.
Even a PB&J, like a peanut butter has about 8 grams per 2 tablespoons. And so that's eight. And then your
Yeah.
bread, that's 18 grams right there.
Yep.
Maybe you add a side of like, I don't know, that hummus and peanut butter. Or maybe you
Yep.
make a mineral mocktail and you add some of that collagen to
Sure,
that.
right.
Or maybe you do a cheese stick on the side. So I think a lot of people think like your only way to get protein is like a slab of steak or
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
large, piece of chicken.
Yeah.
But when you just add things here and there, like if you wanted to make that canned salmon and add Greek yogurt to it or even
Oh,
some
true.
cottage cheese,
Mhm.
you could do that. I mean, sometimes I like nachos. And so I'll add
Yeah.
black beans to it and then maybe make some ground beef. And so I'm always kind of thinking, like, okay, well, what are some small things that I could add that have protein? If you want to do oatmeal in the morning,
Hmm.
add some chia seeds, hemp seeds, flax seeds, and then
Yes.
use a higher protein milk. I think a lot of, with the diet culture, we think we need almond milk and, these
Sure.
low calorie milks, but they're also super low in protein.
Yeah.
So I like just milk, quality milk if you can, even hemp seed milk, pea milk, especially if
Oh,
you're
great.
dairy
Yeah.
free from if your baby is having issues tolerating dairy,
Yep.
doing like pea milk. And so, yeah, I mean, I think we kind of overthink it, but really just, start kind of being mindful.
Yeah.
Also, adding fiber, doing lots of fruits and
Yeah.
vegetables, and definitely early postpartum, your digestive tract has just been shifted with
Mm.
your baby. And so, it's actually easier on your digestive tract to do cooked fruits and vegetables or cooked
Oh,
vegetables at
okay.
least. So doing a lot of soups and stews. And so even with your soups and stews, if you're doing even making rice, if you could use bone broth is going to have a little more
Okay.
protein. Doing quinoa instead of just rice all the
Yeah.
time, doing that higher protein pasta. So, stuff like that are some ways to just help get more of that protein. And when people think protein, I think they just think like muscles, like, oh,
Right.
I'm not a bodybuilder. I don't need
Right.
all this protein. But amino acids are the building blocks of protein, and
Yep.
amino acids make neurotransmitters, which can help with mental health. They make
Yep.
enzymes, including digestive enzymes. They make antibodies, which can help with your immune
Oh,
system. They make, hormones. Like every single thing requires
wow.
amino acids. And so, I mean, even milk supply, prolactin and
Sure. Yeah.
oxytocin, those are hormones. And so, definitely making sure that you're prioritizing protein, not just for muscle repair, but for every bodily function. It keeps blood sugar steady. So, the carbohydrates that you eat, instead of causing a blood sugar spike, you're incorporating
Mm.
protein, which keeps your blood sugar steady. So, me encouraging protein is not saying don't eat fruits and vegetables, don't be on the carnivore diet, you don't need to be Atkins diet or anything like that. Like it's just prioritizing, making sure you're getting 20 to 30 grams of protein, but also incorporating fiber rich
Yeah.
foods, whole grains, healthy fat, adding nuts and seeds, avocados, using olive oil,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like still having a balanced meal.
Right, because it sounds like from what you're saying, at least for in my experience, I find it easier to get the fruits and the vegetables in. Like that's something that I'm just like snacking on or munching on, but I'm not necessarily snacking on or munching on like nuts in my day. So to hear these other ways to add the protein, it sounds like that's the thing that we're not necessarily filling in the gaps on just regularly on our own anyway. Like we're not, we might have the meat with our dinner, but we're not, what are we having for lunch? Just a salad? Great, but like where can we add in these other pieces with it? And I don't know about you, but I feel like adding collagen almost feels like it's cheating, right? Where we hear a lot about you should be getting your nutrients from whole foods. But tell me your thoughts on like collagen and protein powders.
Yeah, so I mean, it all comes down to quality.
Yeah.
So supplements are not FDA regulated. So you
Yeah.
definitely want to buy from a quality company. You want to make sure that it's third party tested.
Mm.
I like to buy ones that have been, tested for heavy metals.
Yeah.
So it is important to buy like quality. So I do like the brand Needed. Their collagen powder is third party tested. It's been tested for heavy metals, but of course there are other ones out there.
Yeah.
Vital Proteins is another one. And then like with protein powders, I think they can definitely be helpful here and there to fill in the gaps. I mean, sometimes I'll do them with like a milkshake for the
Yeah.
afternoon or a smoothie. I'll add some in just to make sure I'm getting enough protein. So you just want to make sure you're looking for high quality ingredients.
That makes so much sense. I mean, we think about. I think we get too much into the nitty gritty and the details to when we're like looking at the big picture. Like, does it matter if you're really getting that protein from some lunch meat ham? Like,
I feel like it's better than nothing. And that's
absolutely.
even like right now, it's about convenience. Like, be thankful that we live in a first world country. We don't have to make things from scratch every time. Like,
Yeah.
I'm okay here and there buying a rotisserie chicken from the
Yeah.
grocery store if that means I'm going to be eating, you know, chicken, getting that protein as opposed to going to like McDonald's or Chick-fil-A. I mean, there's no shame in that either. Like
Right.
all foods can fit in a balanced diet. But, if you wanted to do a rotisserie chicken with a salad mix or even
Yeah.
frozen vegetables, just pop that in the microwave, maybe steam some broccoli. We do edamame a lot as a snack. We just pop
Mm.
that in the microwave, add a little bit of salt, maybe sesame oil, and we'll eat that as a snack. So nutrition is definitely not all or nothing. Like
Yeah.
make little steps, especially during my pregnancy, I had a lot of, food cravings, wanting ice cream. So could I buy a better option or,
Good.
make my own nice cream, like frozen bananas, add some
Yeah.
chocolate and peanut butter to that. Sometimes I would crave those nachos, but I would make sure like, okay, I know I don't want these vegetables, but I'm not just helping myself, I'm helping my baby,
Yes.
especially during pregnancy, you're sharing the same bloodstream. And then with breastfeeding, like you can enhance the nutrients in your breast milk to benefit babies. So,
Yeah.
even just using your baby as a reason to add a little more vegetables and
Yeah.
a little more fruit or protein. And, like I said, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. I
Yeah.
know this is a hard stage right now with taking care of a baby, taking care of a household. So don't feel guilty if you have to do frozen vegetables. Like my rule of thumb is
Yeah.
if you're going to cook it, you might as well buy frozen because it's washed, it's cut, it's
Mm.
ready to go. And I think a lot of people think that with healthy eating, you have to make everything from scratch. It has to be like
Yeah.
this gourmet dinner. But, sometimes frozen can actually be healthier than fresh because they're picking it at peak season and
Oh,
flash freezing
interesting.
it. So
Yeah.
all those nutrients are still intact. Whereas when you're buying it from across the country fresh, how
Right.
much time has it been sitting in cargo by the time it gets to the
Right.
store? How much manhandling has it been through? Oftentimes it's being picked before it's even
Right.
ripe, and then they put ripening agents, they inject ripening agents in it. So,
Right.
obviously you're not going to have a salad with frozen vegetables, but,
Yeah.
having a balance of both. So I do frozen vegetables. I also do fresh. I do a lot of canned fruit, canned
Yeah.
pineapple, my kids love, canned peaches. So we'll do that here and there. So it's all about just balance, not all or nothing. I mean, if I do mac and cheese, can I
Right.
add some tuna to the side of
Yeah.
it? Or, even with chicken nuggets, could I add some bell peppers just so the kids are also being exposed to some vegetables and getting some of that?
Yeah.
So, I'm all about adding nutrition in, and a lot of diet culture and people out there are all about eliminating
Mm.
things, but, add things, have your soda, but could you try a mineral mocktail? And I've had
Yeah.
so many of my clients say that when they start incorporating more healthy foods, they've been adding things in,
Yeah.
just naturally those unhealthy things gets displaced. Like they no longer crave it, they
Yeah.
no longer want it, or they're not hungry for
Yeah.
that pint of ice cream because they ate enough protein in the day to
Yeah.
where they don't feel like they need it. So that's my approach, and that's what I do with my clients is like, let's see what we can add in before
Yeah.
we just push eliminating.
Right. Yes. Add because if you don't want to get rid of that ice cream, like if that's ice cream's the thing that's getting you through the day, then you're looking forward to it, then do it. Like, and just know that you made great choices or at least decent
Mhm.
choices, at
Yeah.
least throughout the day. And because it's not just about when you have a newborn. Like most of my listeners
Mhm.
here don't have a newborn anymore. They're through that, but they are going to school. They're bringing their kids to school or
Mhm.
sports, and they're running around and nobody's home and they're all in these different directions. So the way we can take care of ourselves and the seasons that we can take care of ourselves, they ebb and flow, right? They come and
Mhm.
go. So what do you suggest during the super duper busy times where you just cannot, like maybe it's right now where it in holiday season or we're approaching a holiday season and we're going to be going to everybody under the sun's house and everybody's coming over, there's so many school events. What do you do when you're just like running on empty
Mhm.
emotionally?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hard. So I
Yeah.
would say acknowledge it and
Yeah.
then make your make your foundations a non-negotiable. Even on a
Mm.
really busy day, can you still prioritize breakfast, getting a
Mm.
good breakfast, even if that does require you to wake up 15 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe you can prep breakfast the night before. So
Yeah.
we've been through busy stages too, where
Yeah.
like our mornings were super rushed. And so I
Yeah.
would meal prep like French toast at the start of the week. And just throughout the week, we would eat that, or even
Oh,
waffles, and maybe top that with some peanut butter and some Greek yogurt to boost a little more of that
yeah.
protein. Even making like a quiche or, an egg
Yeah.
frittata type of thing that you can refrigerate and then eat here and there, or even egg bites. And so, making sure breakfast is a non negotiable. You're starting the day with that, and then making sure you're still getting those minerals, especially around holiday season. It can be really easy to not drink. It's not hot outside, so you're probably not drinking as much, but it's very easy to still get dehydrated. So
Yeah.
making sure you're still drinking is super important. Sometimes if you're first starting off with just incorporating healthy things, you need to set an alarm, or you need to put little reminders like, hey, did you eat breakfast? Or hey, it's been three
Yeah.
hours. Have you eaten? Top off your tank. If you're going to a big event, a big like holiday dinner or something like that, I still encourage eating a good breakfast, eating a good lunch, so that you're not saving your calories and then overdoing it at dinner. So
Yeah.
making sure you're still kind of fueling yourself throughout the day, and then, try to load your plate with some of those vegetables, protein options. But if you want that cake, if you want that pecan pie, like, it's okay to have that. Sometimes I even encourage just seeing what's on the buffet table and then mentally make note, like, oh, I really want that pecan pie. I don't need that stuffing, or I don't
Sure.
need the roll, so kind of like pick and choose and actually get the food that you're excited about, not just getting everything just because it's there.
Right.
Um, but yeah, in that go season, meal prepping, I would make some crock pot meals.
Oh,
The nights that you do cook, I would make double, even triple portions, and then freeze that for a day that you don't feel like cooking. I mean, we eat the majority of our meals at home, but I don't cook every night. But the
yeah.
days that I do cook, I make triple the batch, and then I'll freeze it or even just eat it as leftovers,
Smart.
so that a day that I don't feel like cooking, I can just quickly thaw,
Yeah.
chili or even spaghetti sauce, and then I can just make a pot of noodles. So, nutrition does require some planning ahead.
Yeah.
I do encourage having some quick meals on hand.
Yeah.
So I have a couple boxes of like instant rice, instant quinoa that you can
Yeah.
just pop in the microwave, 90 seconds, and now you have your grain. Even buying like frozen potatoes that you can pop in the oven, and now you have that as a side. The frozen vegetables, pop that in the microwave, and then maybe like having some like thaw, or I guess even like frozen chicken strips that you can
Mm,
quickly thaw. Sometimes I'll have just some fish or
good
shrimp in the
thinking.
freezer that thaws pretty quickly. Even using your Instapot to quickly thaw something too can be helpful.
Tip. I never thought about using the Instapot. I feel like use the
Yeah.
microwave, use the like cold warm water trick. But yeah, Instapot, that's a really, I pretty much just use that as a glorified rice cooker at this point. So that's a
Oh,
really
I've
good
never
way to
done
use
rice
it.
in it. Yeah,
It's a game changer. I don't know, unless you have a rice cooker, but I don't have a big
I
kitchen. So we
don't.
just have one appliance basically. And I'm not going to lie, like I'm still probably going to eat all of the food at Thanksgiving just because it's there.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay.
But I
Yeah.
will probably think differently about how I do my breakfast rather than
Hmm.
like saving up for it. Like,
Yes.
how you just
Yes.
don't eat throughout the day to like prepare. Like,
Hmm.
no, we can still
And then
we
you
can
feel
still
more
do this.
tired and you feel
Right.
groggy or snappy. And,
Right.
like I said, you are a car. You need to fuel
Yeah.
yourself, and you'll probably find you don't feel like you need to eat as
Yep.
much because you've already been eating throughout the day.
Right.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely eat breakfast.
I love that. So, one last thing I want to talk about is I want to talk a little bit more about electrolytes because that has been a game changer for me. So, I'm very proud of my hydration. I drink about a gallon a
Amazing.
day, and I always save my electrolytes. I do an electrolyte packet at the end. My last quart, I do it at the end. And I always wonder, is this how I'm supposed to be doing it? Like, I do it because it tastes good and it's like my motivator to
Hmm.
finish. But am I doing my body the favor by, or am I getting the most out of it by doing it at the end? Like, how are you supposed to actually do electrolytes?
Yeah. So electrolytes are minerals. It's magnesium, potassium, sodium, chloride, and calcium, and they are your body's spark plugs. So they help bring the water that you're drinking, the nutrients into your cells. And inside the cells is where your body makes energy, ATP. If you remember in biology class, you have the mitochondria, which is the cell battery. And so oftentimes, especially breastfeeding, postpartum, or just
Yeah.
anyone, we're told to stay hydrated and drink. And you can find yourself drinking tons of water and just peeing it out. So if you
Yeah.
find yourself peeing a lot, most likely you need some electrolytes to actually
Yeah.
bring that water into the cells and have your cells be more like a grape versus a raisin dried out.
Yeah.
When you incorporate electrolytes, it doesn't really matter as long as you can kind of be consistent with it.
Okay.
So minerals, they electrolytes, I say them interchangeably. So all electrolytes are minerals, but not all minerals are electrolytes.
Okay.
So with the electrolytes, they do help with your energy, but they can also help with your sleep. So they work with your circadian rhythm. So it's going to give you energy when you need that energy and give you that rest when you need that rest. So I'm curious, do you find that your sleep is pretty good because you take it later in the day?
I think so. I think I sleep generally pretty good.
Awesome. Yeah. So I know a lot of people will be told to take like magnesium before
Yeah.
bed, and that is so great. I encourage magnesium glycinate, and you could even add some of that sodium and potassium to help bring that magnesium
Mm.
into the cells too. So sodium and potassium specifically
Mm.
are that sodium potassium pump, which every single cell in your body has that pump that helps
Yeah.
bring the nutrients in and out. So incorporating some of that maybe before bed can help with that quality sleep and then just throughout the day. And I do want to say that diet culture has demonized sodium, and
I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
sodium is in a lot of junk food and processed foods, but it's not sodium in itself that's bad.
Mm.
It's the lack of potassium. So sodium and potassium work
Oh,
together.
interesting.
So we're getting a lot more sodium than we are potassium. So potassium is primarily in fruits and vegetables, and
Right.
especially with the standard American diet, we're not getting a lot of that fruit and vegetable, but we are getting a lot of sodium, which is where you see more of those health complications, but it's not sodium in itself. So if you do notice some swelling, or you do just right now do eat a lot of processed foods, which no shame, but if you are getting a lot of sodium, then I would really focus on upping that potassium. Maybe do
Mm.
coconut water, maybe buy an electrolyte that is higher potassium versus a sodium mix, because I know there are some brands out there that are really high in sodium compared to potassium. So that's where reading labels, I mean, working with a
Yeah.
dietitian can be helpful to kind of see like, what do you need? Like
Yeah.
you specifically, are you getting enough of this mineral and you need to focus more on this other one? So, but yeah, we all need electrolytes,
Yeah.
and especially with the stressors of life, we are being depleted faster than we're repleting. And so it is very helpful to intentionally add those electrolytes. So I love that you're doing that. I think that's awesome.
It is a big game changer. Now, you mentioned earlier that you do sometimes one or two a day. Do we have to worry about the sodium intake we have when we do two a day? I know you're saying we don't have to with one, but what about with
Mm-hmm.
two?
Yeah, I mean, that's where it's all individualized. I
Yeah.
don't do a lot of processed foods. I do try to liberally add salt. I've also done testing on myself. So I do hair
Mm.
tissue mineral testing in my practice so I can see like how I'm doing with my minerals. And I'm actually lower in potassium compared to sodium. So the electrolytes that I do are higher in potassium.
Got it.
After doing the testing, I've incorporated more potatoes versus rice. Like I used to do a lot of rice and quinoa,
Yeah.
but now I do a little more potatoes. And once again, diet culture has demonized potatoes, but they are a great source of potassium. Zucchinis are also a great source of potassium, so I've been adding a little more of that. But yeah, I mean, that's where kind of noticing your symptoms. Do you experience some swelling? Are you getting any headaches? Are you getting any like digestive issues? Like that's where you kind of play around with electrolytes and see what you specifically need. So, 1 to 2 is usually what I recommend, but do you need 3? Do you need
Oh,
4? 4 is
interesting.
probably on the higher end. But
Yeah.
once again, how do you feel? Are you getting headaches? Are you
Yeah.
I don't know, having any kind of symptoms. Maybe
Yeah.
you need to go down to one. If you're listening and this is all new information, I would start with one a day and just
Yeah.
kind of see how you feel, and then maybe go up to two. It also depends on what stage of life you're in. When I was not pregnant, and even now I do like one to two, but in my third trimester of pregnancy, I was like at three. I
Yeah.
mean, I would listen to my body when I got Charlie horses or,
Yeah.
just cramping. I knew that I needed more electrolytes. And so I would drink another electrolyte drink and the
Yeah.
cramping would go away. If
Wow.
you're experiencing Braxton Hicks, you need to up your water and up your electrolytes. So,
Man, I
yeah,
could have used
listen
this
to your body.
information.
Yeah,
Then-
your body speaks to you through symptoms.
yeah.
So oftentimes we blame our symptoms on, oh, you're just pregnant, or oh, you're just a
Yeah.
mom, like, oh,
Yeah.
this is life as a mom now. But it doesn't have to be. Like, your body is talking to you, and we just need to listen.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Well, this has been such a powerful conversation, and I feel like I could talk to you about this all day long. So tell us, where can we find more information from you?
yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram, aloha.nutrition. We offer nutrition as well as breastfeeding consults worldwide. We offer them virtually. And then, of course, my website, aloha-nutrition.com.
Great. And you have courses too, right? Can you
Yep,
tell us about
yep.
the courses you offer?
Yeah, so we have a bunch of courses. I know you did the tandem nursing
Yes.
one. So we have tandem nursing, we have a sleep and energy one. So how to support your sleep with, or how to support your energy with the lack of sleep. We
Yeah.
have a breastfeeding and mental health one. And then I also have
Mm.
my postpartum nutrition course. And then I also have one on preparing for the postpartum period. So it's called Baby Ready. And it's all about just preparing for life with baby. I talk about the nutrition aspect as well as the breastfeeding aspect, and really just preparing you. I have a postpartum checklist, and so that's been a game changer for a lot of families in preparing for the postpartum period. So yeah, and then we do lab testing and yeah, one-on-one consults. So and then I have a lot of free information. I have a free mineral
Yeah.
guide and free how to choose a prenatal vitamin. So yeah, lots of information's out there, and then lots of information on my Instagram feed as well.
Yes, you are definitely a wealth of information, and I'm so grateful you came
Thank
here with
you.
me.
Yeah, thank you so much.
If you liked this episode, please take a few moments to share it with a friend who's in the thick of motherhood right now. And if you haven't yet, tap follow and leave a quick rating or review. It helps other moms find these honest, unpolished conversations that remind us that we're not in this alone. In the next episode, we're talking about me time and why it's not the only way to reconnect with yourself. Because if you've ever wanted to scream, when, with what time, you're not the only one. We're breaking the myth that finding yourself means stepping away from your life. Sometimes the thing that lights you up again is something you do with your kids or right in the middle of the chaos. Until then, take a moment for yourself and remember you are an amazing mom just as you are.